Hey guys, Scott here. Behavior just posted some more information about the upcoming patch for 8.7.0, and they went over the changes to haste and hindered stacking and also clarified a bit more about how the abandoned system works, because we don't really know the technicals of it. We just know when we can't actually leave a match with being, penalized or not penalized, when it's an abandon or just a straight up disconnect. So that's really all we know, and they went and clarified kind of all the scenarios that make up an actual abandoned event, and a lot of them make no sense at all. But let's start with the first thing, which is the haste and hindered stacking. So previously they said they were going to be removing haste and hindered stacking. I thought in the long term this is a good idea because it allows them to make more powerful perks in the future without having to worry about things stacking. So if you keep it, as it currently is, we're just going to get a bunch of shitty perks. Oh, this perk gives you 2% haste for 1 second upon the sun becoming eclipsed. Like, it's just like super weird conditions, and it's very, very hard to make more powerful perks when you can have all these things stacking, because you always have to think about everything else that could go with that perk. So in removing that, I thought, again, short-term pain, long-term gain, in the sense that it will allow, future perks to be actually really good. And this should ship with a change to basically every haste and hinder perk to get, a significant buff. They started doing that. They buffed a few of them, but not nearly enough for it to be received well by the community. I think if they made this change, but also buffed every perk that was like that, or most of them anyway, then I think the community would probably be completely fine with this. But they didn't want to do that. Probably too much work to change 7 numbers, so they decided to just fuck it. We're just going to go right back, and they're just undoing the change, which... that's fine. I'm not really going to count this as them being like, well, it's a little lazy. I think they should have stuck with their original intent there and actually balanced everything else around it. But this is the lazier, happier solution overall for the community. I think more people would prefer it to stay the same than to change, especially considering that they weren't really changing enough perks to go along with the change. So, like I said, I still think if they were doing that at the same time, it would be way, way better received by the community, but they weren't doing that. So this seems like the lazy, safe choice. So that's good, I guess, for the majority. It's still a bit of a shame because I think they had the right idea, but apparently the only exception is Champion of Light. That's going to actually be getting changes, so we'll see what that's actually going to be. Maybe it's not going to work with Fixated anymore. Maybe it's just going to be a standalone perk, at which point that would just be a massive buff to an already pretty decent perks. That would be kind of strange as well, but I guess we'll see. Next, the abandoned trial outcomes. So this is a discussion that has been going on for a while now. There have been some videos about, certain strategies, like holding 3 gens for 10 minutes and then getting a free win as killer. It was revealed that that was actually making the killer lose. So not only were they just torturing everybody, but they were just losing at the same time. So it was just a fat L for everyone involved. But at the same time, in the reverse direction, you don't want survivors to be able to just hide for 10 minutes and do nothing, and then that's considered a win if the killer gives up and abandons the match. That's not cool either. So obviously the proper solution is make it based on generator progress, maybe a bit more than just tapping the gen. Maybe you have to do, you have that bar that shows, when you were stopping a regression. Maybe make that bar like 10% or 15%. You got to do 10 or 15% of a generator, and that resets like the timer for this or something like that. It can't be based on generator completion because that's too abusable on either side. So just simply make it do a little bit of a generator, and that way the killer has a chance to see which gens have been touched. You can see this one's no longer regressing. It gives them a much better radius to look for the survivor, much better chance to find them. It's a simple fix. I don't know why we're not doing that. So that is what should happen right now. But that is currently not the case, and a lot of this is weird. So first off, if all survivors are bots, killer can abandon the match without receiving a disconnection penalty, and the match is a draw. Why is this a draw? The killer won. If he caused everybody to disconnect, whether he was being toxic or not, doesn't change the fact that he won. Going against, if you have 4 bots, the game is over, the killer wins. This should be a win, not a draw. Does not make any sense. Scenario 2, if the match has continued for 10 consecutive minutes without a generator being completed, again, change that to touched or, progress done or regressed. The killer can abandon the match without receiving a disconnection penalty, and the match is considered a loss. Again, this just means now it's abusable for survivors to just hide for 10 minutes and now they can win. It's equally as stupid as the holding the 3-gen strat. Both of these sides. This is not a killer or survivor-sided opinion. Both of these things are equally stupid and promote very stupid gameplay. So, again, switch it to do 10-15% of a generator, not generator completion. This is also dumb. Now for survivor. When all other remaining survivors left are in the trial are bots, the last survivor can abandon the match without receiving a disconnection penalty, and the match is considered a draw. again, I don't really think that makes any sense. It should be considered a loss still. In that scenario, if everyone has left probably because they're slugged or because they are about to die or whatever reason, if everyone left is bots, it means all the survivors gave up, which means the killer wins. The survivor really shouldn't be given a pity, at least draw there. I can at least more understand this one a little bit because it's sort of like getting the hatch. It's just basically a last pity escape to the person that is the only human left in the match. So if that's the angle they're coming at it from, then fine. I understand this one the most because all the other survivors are still getting a loss. It's just the last guy who only has bot teammates that's getting essentially the hatch for free. I still think it should probably be a loss, but I'm not really going to complain about it being a draw either because, you know, it's not like the killer would lose in that scenario. It's just the one survivor is getting a pity escape. That doesn't really do much. So that's the least problematic one I can think of. This, however, is dumb as hell. When all the survivors alive are on a trial or in the dying state, the survivors can abandon the match without receiving a disconnection penalty. The match is considered a draw. Again, that doesn't make any sense. If the killer has downed everybody, the survivors didn't win. They didn't draw. They objectively lost the match. The match is over. This is a very, very strange decision because it also means that the last survivor in the match, if they're about to be killed, as soon as they're down, they can just abandon and they just dodge the loss now. So instead of that considered a survivor having being considered losing that round, now he gets a draw because he disconnected right before he was about to die. It makes absolutely no sense. With this, you know, with this logic, the last survivor can never lose anymore. It's like you always get the hatch for free now. That's just a very, very weird choice. Now, for the killer end, it probably counts as a win, but I think the developers really need to hone in on the fact that you need to not be changing the match outcomes with this. The abandoned system should only be to preserve a player's sanity, not to preserve their MMR or the conditions of their win or loss. It should just be, oh my god, get me out of this fucking match. I don't care if I lose. That's the button. That's what it actually is. It shouldn't actually go, hey, you know what? I don't feel like losing anymore. Disconnect, it's a draw now. That makes no sense. It should only be for people that are so tired of the match they want to get out. That doesn't mean you get to win or draw the match for free. It just means you get to leave a very unpleasant scenario. It's at the cost you're trading a loss for it. And that's a fine trade in my opinion. There are matches where I just want to get out. I don't care if I win or lose anymore. I'm so bored, I just don't want to be here anymore. And so the outcome, the MMR outcome is irrelevant. I should not be rewarded in that scenario. I am trading it to get out of the match for free. So that I think is the main misconception the developers have right now. And they need to really change that. They need to make it so in these scenarios, when you're in a very clearly losing situation, you are getting a loss. Again, you get to leave the losing situation, and that's great. You don't have to deal with it anymore, but you still are getting a loss in that scenario. Other than that, the main things they have to address are just, you know, the first one. This is the most abusable thing on both sides, depending on whether it's a win or loss for a killer. Just make it based off doing 10 or 15% of a generator, just like, you know, you have the, like, you know, a BMP line, just something like that. Very, very easy to fix. They already have it done on completion. I'm sure they can do it on gen progress. It seems like a very, very easy fix. This will make it so the killer can't abuse it, survivors can't abuse it, everybody's happy. And that's it. So overall, this is just really stupid and dumb. I really don't like any of this at all. I don't really like anything. I don't like anything in this whole patch. Okay, bye.